Welcome in. I am the Crypto Bull God, and this is all in the charts. If you appreciate the content, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, drop me a comment, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon. You gotta literally, when you follow someone, this is Twitter. Sorry, I have Twitter up, not YouTube. When you're on YouTube, you literally have to click the down arrow and click all notifications, and that will let you know when I go live. As you can see here, I am Crypto Bull God on Twitter. Sorry for the delay there joining. I only joined a couple minutes after I said I was going to stream, but this YouTube for some reason sometimes, so I use, to connect to YouTube, if you're not familiar with the way this works, I use something called OBS Studio. OBS Studio is some form of software that hooks up with YouTube for the screen sharing and all that stuff. So as soon as I click on all the stuff on here, then I go over to YouTube and start to stream, click the button, and it was just spinning and spinning and spinning, so it was taking a while. I feel like before I joined coming into today's live stream, I had like something profound to share, like something like to create some positivity and energy in the room, and I completely forgot. Couldn't have been that positive or that energetic, because I completely forgot what it was that I was going to say. Had a good weekend overall. It was a pretty solid weekend. Multi-dimensional weekend. Multi-dimensional, that will be the term. I hope everyone had a nice weekend. I don't know if you really keep track of sometimes when I'm rambling on the live stream. Welcoming KR, welcoming Kevin. Working overtime to buy the dips. Nice. So when I'm jibber-jabbing, I don't know how much everybody's paying attention, but I said this week was a big weekend for me because I was going to hit some PRs, right? So I did, you can follow me on Instagram at Crypto Bull God, by the way. I do gym stuff on there, mostly. Sometimes a little crypto. So I did 435 on deads, which I was happy with, but I knew I would get it. I was upset because I failed 455. I really wanted to get 455, and I did not get it. So I was upset. But regained my composure and hit 335 on stiff-legged or Romanian deads for 5. And then went into, was it 4 or 5? 4 or 5. And then hip thrusts. Did hip thrusts. I hit, it's like a psychological level, right? Like we talk about in the charts. I hit 505, 505 pounds on hip thrusts for a solid 5. Slow pauses at the top. So got that one on the IG. So check me out at Crypto Bull God. I do hope everyone had a good weekend. Price has been just stagnant. And so, when we had a lot of this stuff going on here, it was really exciting. And now you can just see with the tiniest bit of correction and the tiniest bit of consolidation, people are just there just isn't as much enthusiasm, right? So let's kind of take a look at a few charts that I think would be good to look at to start out the week. What's up, Wasi? And we're actually going to do something different. One of the charts that I've noticed has been gaining some exposure that people are talking about is this whole Gaussian channel, right? So I'm going to take a look at a few different time frames on the Gaussian. Thumbs up if you appreciate the content. Yeah. Sentiment is pretty max doom. No, max doom was, Brian, I agree directionally with what you're saying, but no, max doom was when FTX was collapsing and all that stuff. But I will say the sentiment is not great right now. And as I always say, unless something fundamentally changes in the charts, my educated view on this is not changing. So what is this speaking to? This is kind of speaking to what Brian and I were just talking about. So I had tweeted this out recently, but basically I really want you to consider the fact that when you look at this chart, these represent higher lows, okay? In this case, this is actually technically a low. But the point is we were really low here. Astronomical rise in price, correction, a rise in price, correction, a rise in price, another higher low all the way up here at 27,000, right? And I really want you to think about for a second, because we're living in the current times right now, what was the market sentiment like in the red circles versus the huge trajectories up, right? I mean, obviously it's like night and day, right? And it just amazes me to see human emotion playing out in the chart. So nothing, when you look at it from this perspective, you can see that we're forming higher highs and higher lows, right? I don't need to draw anything on the chart, but it's quite interesting to have been in the market for several years and then to be going through this in real time when we undergo, a healthy pullback, that people start to get very negative and very pessimistic. And again, it's why, in my opinion, you're not going to see true FOMO buying until we approach 50,000, 40, maybe even 45, 50,000. Real FOMO, like true FOMO, will be when we break all-time highs. That's when people have all of a sudden decided Bitcoin's going to $1 million, right? So, but again, I kind of drew this out. I don't think I've shared this here before, but the whole premise here, maybe we did look at this. We'll quick touch on this and get to some other charts, but the whole premise here, when we take a look at this blue drawing here, okay, this isn't me telling you my belief in exactly what's going to happen here, but the thing that I keep trying to hit home on, one of the things I keep trying to hit home on is, if we're really going to see new all-time highs this year, you do need to see some astronomical rise in price like this. Okay, it has happened in the past. You can see we've entered parabolas before, but I really want to create realistic expectations here that we are going to, while we can see some consolidation in here for a month or so, we really need to start rising in prices. And that kind of brings me to this chart here, right? So one of the things that I touched on in this chart is maintaining this level at 28.8. I didn't want a candle body close to go below the green zone. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to need to change this to a red zone once again. I didn't want to fall out of there. And what was the reason that I said I didn't want to fall out of that channel? Okay, because it increased the probabilities that we would start to hit some of these key areas. Hell, we could break the 200. There's no reason why not. But it at least increases the probability for this, and it also increases the probability that we'll be range bound in this area under 30,000 for a little bit of time. Again, this is just the more probable thing. Okay, I'm not telling you with certainty that's what's going to happen. It was the same thing when we came down here. I said the fact that we got I forget what the price level was, what the exact price level was. We were below price, and I said, unfortunately, I think it was on a monthly view, actually. Yeah, I think it was on a monthly view. Let's take a look at that real quick, actually. Yeah, so I said if we broke below 19,400, and we did with this month in November, I said, hey, as bullish as I am, and I know I've come out and spoken about new all-time highs in 2023, puts it a little bit into question, because since we've broken down from this 19.4 area, more than likely, not guaranteed, again, it's just about probabilities, we'll kind of hang out under 19.4 for a few months and then eventually break up. Well, look what happened. 2 months later, we had this, green Jesus candle come in, and we've risen astronomically in price, right? So again, what I'm aiming to communicate to, and I want to make sure this point sticks home, it's with any other chart that we take a look at on this channel. There are no certainties, okay? I am your eyes, okay? So I'm telling you, you can, there's actually a really good song. Peter Gabriel, In Your Eyes, is a very good, it's like a love song, Not my style these days right now. But Peter Gabriel, In Your Eyes, beautiful song, beautiful song. If you got a lady in your life, you crank that 80s song up, when you're driving in your car, that'll get her. Tug her at the emotional heartstrings. All right, so anyway, where the hell was I going with that? So anyway, because we got a weekly candle close under the 28.8, again, it's increasing the likelihood we're going to have problems breaking through 30,000, and this red resistance is really going to create a problem for us for several weeks at least. Now, I kind of took a second look at what I had been saying last week and said, maybe I've been a little bit too aggressive. So I said by the end of May, I wanted to consolidate up in this area. And again, the whole premise of this is nothing. I want to reiterate this. Nothing in this chart. Look at these beautiful stair steps up, higher highs and higher lows. Nothing is putting in the jeopardy that I believe Bitcoin is going to be creating a new all-time high, and this is that reversal that we're ultimately looking for to get us there. Okay, nothing in the chart has changed in that way. What I'm speaking to now is we need to see things consolidate and continue to accelerate if the new all-time highs are coming in this year, as I've been theorizing, right? So really, I've kind of revised this end of May time frame to really like mid-end of June. So I really, and again, it's just a guesstimate on my part, kind of looking at the past and looking at time frames with things, right? Time frames are really, really tough to kind of hone in on. But anyway, I really want to consolidate up in this area no later than by like the end of June, right? Mid to late June. Okay, as long as we can get up here and we're starting to hit up towards $40,000 and we're convincingly staying above $30,000, and really in this case it's 35.5. Thank you for the positive feedback, Donna. This is going to lend itself to a more a higher probability scenario where we're still in play for new all-time highs this year. Again, remember, the majority of people that are expecting some level of positive price action to come in this year, okay, everyone's calling for this $48,000 to $52,000 top, okay, somewhere up in this range. And so where I think true disbelief, in my opinion, when you study market cycles and you enter stages of rage and complacency and something called disbelief, or in our case, in the crypto markets, we like to call it disbelief. But I think the true area of disbelief will be, if I'm correct, that we start to see Bitcoin push up to past 52, and we start heading up towards that $60,000 mark. You're going to see some huge disbelief in the market, right? Maybe we kind of come up, consolidate in this area, get rejected initially because everyone is expecting it, have a healthy retracement, a hard bounce, and then continue up. That is really when I think you're going to see a lot of people in disbelief. And thank you for everyone new tuning in, supporting the channel with the thumbs up, because it does help the algorithm. So those are my expectations with this chart. Nothing overly concerning, but again, increases the probability we'll hang out around here. Now, what I looked at this, I know there's a lot of people on Twitter and people on YouTube, and they're talking about the Gaussian channel, and for good reason. There's many different time frames that we can look at for the Gaussian channel, okay? And what I've attempted to do is two things. One, when we're changing from red, which is bearish, to green, which is bullish, I've studied the price action to see, what price likes to tend to do based on the different time frames, right? The other thing I've been kind of honing in on is time frame. So when we've turned from red to green, how long has it taken to create a new all-time high? So that would actually be looking back at 2020 through 21, and also back in this time period, and I'll explain why I didn't look at this time period specifically. Now, as you know, my main hypothesis is that we're going to be creating new all-time highs this year, right? And I've explained the reason for this is because I believe there is a broader Elliott wave in play here that not a lot of people are talking about. And just for a refresher, we've bottomed at the end of this Elliott wave structure here. And from 2018 into 19, that was your wave 1, your wave 2 correction. Your wave 3 actually topped here. Then you had this A, B, C correction. Okay, that's your wave 4. And now we are entering a wave 5. Okay, and I think that the duration of time for the wave 5 could be something closer along the lines of the wave 3, although I would actually suspect it'll be shorter in duration. But case in point is, you can look at the 3-day, you can look at the 4-day, you can look at the 5-day, which I've hypothesized when we're going to be turning green here. But all of these time frames, the key thing that I'd like you to walk away with from our evaluation of the Gaussian channel here is that whether you look at the 2-day, 3-day, 4-day, or hypothetical 5-day when it does turn green, all of these tops, if it mirrored the exact time frame when we created a new all-time high from 20 into 21, it all takes us into December, January. So again, it sort of aligns with my thesis that we'll see a new all-time high. If, again, the premise here is if the timing of the extension of this fifth wave is similar at a point which it tops, that time frame when it's, let me re-explain this. Okay, I'm not doing a good job explaining this. As our fifth wave has started, once the Gaussian channel turns green, I'm looking at that time frame to the point where we would top and comparing that to the same point in time from our wave 3 extension, okay? Because I'm assuming the time frames will be similar in nature. So that it's just another sort of reasonability check or another data point I can point to that at least points in the right direction, right? And don't forget, I do have my old school handwritten note here that has several ideas and other charts I'd like to do. One of the important things that I think is invaluable to do, and this would benefit you to do in your profession or in charting in this case, you have a thesis, right? You have this hypothesis on what you think is going to happen. Well, I think what you need to do is you need to look at the counter arguments. You need to say, okay, the reason that I believe this to be true is because of X, Y, and Z. But if we actually look at A, B, and C, they might suggest otherwise, right? So I do want to put out a video speaking about that. I'll have to work that in at some point over the course of the next 5 to 6 weeks. Jorge, welcome in. Good for you, my friend. Good for you. All right. So we did the Gaussian channels. Wanted to take a look at a few altcoin projects. Might take a look at the S&P real quick with you because I haven't looked at that today yet. Before joining the call, I was calculating some 5-year present values for some expected mortality costs associated with some changes in our medical EOI process. Now, if you were listening to that, you probably felt I sounded quite intellectual. Quite to the contrary, I'm not as smart as I sound. Not good to be saying on an educational crypto channel, right? No, you can believe me, trust me. Never financial advice, no. Getting a little punchy on a Monday. It's not Friday, it's only Monday. I don't know, this day's been going pretty quick, actually. All right, so there is going to be a little bit of a theme here as we go through most of these altcoins, and that is you're going to see sort of the same commentary as it relates to the candle body formation, which, by the way, I forgot to touch on the weekly. One of the other things that's not good to see on the weekly, okay, we don't like to see it. I forgot to hit on this for Bitcoin. Just like this candle here in particular and this candle, they are bullish engulfing candles where the body of the green candle, the bull candle, the increase in price, it eclipses the red candle portion of a down day, right? That's called a bullish engulfing candle. This here is called a bearish engulfing candle. Again, all you need are kindergarten skills. Your red rectangle eclipses, overshadows the green rectangle. There you go. That's first grade kindergarten material right there. So bearish engulfing candle, which means there's a lot of sell pressure. Again, not surprising, okay? As bullish as we wanted to be to stay in this range, we knew it was going to be a tough range to get through, right? So not surprising. Ethereum. So same sort of thing on Ethereum. Technically, this red rectangle is like $7, roughly $7 shy of this green rectangle, so it's not a bearish engulfing candle. It's close enough. Not good to see, but the ultimate test here is to hold 1,800. Again, this week, could we go to 1,700 or 1,600? Sure, but I want the week to close above 1,800, so keep an eye on that. Price indicators looking just fine. Stochastic RSI had a cross down, which isn't surprising given the drop, but besides that, looking fine. XRP does look a little bit different in the sense this isn't This isn't a bearish engulfing candle to close for the week, but what happened that I didn't want to see on this chart? Spoke to this. When you're below a moving average, below this moving average, resistance. When you get above, you want it to act as support like we saw in these 2 weeks here. But now we've dropped below the 200 weekly moving average on XRP. So not good to see. I want to see us get above 50 cents, back above and stay above it. Same with Cardano. It's just dropping with the rest of the market. Another bearish engulfing candle here. The thing that's disappointing here is that around 40 cents, 41 cents or Cardano is a key area of price confluence. We got above it with some good volume and we just closed below it. So what this has done is it hasn't guaranteed, but it's increased the likelihood that Cardano will come down to around 34.5 cents. So we'll say 34 to 35 cents. Now, why do I say that? We lost this major area of support, so it's very common at this point to come back and retrace to a common area of prior price confluence, which would be 34 to 35 cents, okay? Else we're sort of just hanging out here. Would that be bad for the chart? Would that be bad for Cardano? Well, let's take a look at what would happen if that happened. Okay, well, I see some higher lows and I see some higher highs. right? So nothing is concerning about that. If we start to lose 35 cents, 34 to 35 cents on the weekly with a candle body, it increases the likelihood we may even double bottom towards 30 cents. I think that's less likely, given it's certainly a possibility. Okay, don't parse my words. It's a possibility, but I think it's less likely based on the state of the overall market in terms of where I see it going. So I think 34 to 35 cents. If you gave me two scenarios, where would it bounce? Ultimately, I think 34 to 35 cents is more likely. 30 is a possibility, but I don't view it as as high a probability. I love live when I stutter over my words. Gotta tell you, I love that. All right, this is Solana on the weekly. Nothing has changed here. I'm just beginning to know my audience more and more and more, and I know that you guys have questions on Solana. Downward resistance, we're just pressed up and we can't seem to pierce through here. To me, it's all about breaking 26 with volume. Again, don't forget with Solana, when we do get the break up, okay, when we do break 26, very common, okay, it's very common to back test this downward area of resistance, especially since it's been prevalent since the end of 2021. It's been here for like a year and a half. So very common to come up and then back test. So keep an eye on that. Now, the last alt that I wanted to touch on, and then we're good on time. So what I'm going to do is take a look at the stock market after injective protocol, and then I'm going to take your questions. So feel free to drop any questions in the comments box. Look at what's happening here, and this isn't surprising, right? Remember, the injective protocol video that I put out, this was the daily candle that was in the midst of printing. I created the video on the day that we topped out at 10. And what did I say in that video? To paraphrase myself, what I said is, more than likely, we're going to come down and have a correction. It's not guaranteed. We could continue higher before seeing a correction, but more than likely, we're going to have a correction. We literally corrected the next day. Okay, so what I did is I identified a prior area of price confluence. It said 760, but I said that doesn't look like a deep enough a retracement given the level of parabolic price action that took place. I identified an area between 650 and $4.40, and ladies and gentlemen, where did we bounce right off of? $6.44. You can't get much closer than that. Now, do I think that the low is in for this? No, I do not. I still think that we're going to, similar to, well, actually, Alchemy hasn't retraced lower than the low it set several weeks back. But at some point, what happens is, even though prices are overextended, you get such a large drop from 10 to 6. At some point, buyers come in, even just to swing trade this thing, to get a nice bounce on a volatile asset. Now, this thing could bounce all the way up to 8. Looks like it could bounce all the way up to 850. What I would suspect, and again, I'm not guaranteeing, okay, but what I would suspect is we're going to get somewhere closer to $5. We could come all the way down here to 520. We could come all the way down here to around 582, just under $6. But what I'm still expecting is some sort of bounce and then some sort of bottoming somewhere in here, and then and then just some chippy choppy consolidation before we end up going up. But again, it's the entire golden zone. If you want to scale into this investment, or you would like to establish a position, I'm not offering you financial advice. That's the last thing I'm offering you on this channel. What I'm offering you is a bird's eye view of a chart, okay? Having been a technical analyst now for several years, being a logical individual as an actuary, just doing some risk assessment, okay? So I've identified a zone that's logical to buy in. You decide how aggressive or conservative you want to be with your buys, and then you can use this in addition to your own analysis. You can supplement it. So I hope you found that helpful. Let's get into the stock market. Let's get into the stock market, and then I'm going to take your questions. So if you have any questions on any charts, feel free to drop them in. It's kind of, I think, like I've said to you before, I think Mondays and Fridays, Mondays are perhaps the most important day of the week, followed by, I think, Friday going into the weekend, but also midday, sort of as a midday checkup. You know, and I think updating you in terms of how charts look right now is important, given it's the start of the week, essentially, okay? At least on, technically it's Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but you get my point. Start of the work week here. But not much has changed at the same point. So it's like I go through here and I'm trying to find some value-added things to point out to you. But guys, honestly, nothing really has changed Friday, and it's challenging. It's challenging to when things get boring like this and you start to feel excited. I'm putting myself in your shoes, perhaps, if you haven't been in the market long. You do get emotional, and so you tend to disengage during periods like this, and then you start to get re-energized when you see a 5% move up. But hang in there. Like I would encourage you to hang in there because, again, just giving you my educated view, whether I'm correct and we have a new all-time high this year, whether I'm incorrect and it falls into next year or 2025, I'm really off, right? This market is primed. It's in the middle of a recovery, okay? And it is primed to go much higher. That is my view, and I've shared that so many times on this channel. Just have some patience and hang in there, okay? I know it can be boring sometimes, but last thing you want to give into is emotion. Emotion is a money killer, whether it's during days like this or whether it's during euphoric times too. YC, son of a bitch. My friend's been in this game for 9 years. Props to you. That's solid since 2006. No, wow, my math has been 2016. Wow. Great work. All right, let's get into the S&P. I was just on my phone. I was just on the phone with my mom the other day. And every usually when I'm on the phone with my mother, I try to bring up crypto here and there, try to gauge this week when I was on the phone with my mom, what did I say to her? I said, I just want a temperature gauge in the room. And I asked the question to my mom and my dad, and I'll tell you what they said. So I said, just give me a number between 0 to 10. 0 to 10. You're ice cold on this, or you're freaking raging hot and excited, right? Or cold to the idea. Your son, CBG, believes that Bitcoin is going to set a new all-time high this year, and the stock market is going to supersede what most people think, and it is going to create a new all-time high this year. What is your confidence in that assertion? My mom replied and gave me a 6, and I was like, wow. A 6 out of 10. To me, that's a high rating because most people, nobody's thinking that. So I was like, all right, my mom's either bullshitting me or, to make me feel good, or she believes this. She has way too much confidence in her son. And then my dad, of course, answers in this analytical fashion that would mirror how I would respond. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a 7.5 to 8. All right, so it just 7 or 8. We're going to round up 8. So the average of my family, the level of confidence is a 7 out of 10. I'll fucking take that. Market right now, in terms of thinking that crypto and the stock market are making new all-time highs this year, 1 out of 10, 0 out of 10. My family is a 7 out of 10. I don't know about my brother. I haven't asked him. 7 out of 10. That is fucking solid. But my mom said, oh, the stock market was down, or it was not having a good day. And I said, Mom, quite the contrary. You have not been tuning into the live streams. The stock market is in the midst of a turnaround, in my opinion. Now, we'll have to wait for confirmation. But again, what did I say last week? Why do I feel good about that assertion right now? We're above the 21 EMA, which is this dark blue line. I've spoken to the historical significance of that in the past. We have a downward area of resistance we've broken above. And since we basically back tested right here, no reason we can't go lower, but we're still above the descending resistance here. We have an increased probability. Since we've gotten above the descending resistance here, we have an increased probability that we're going to continue moving higher and get up towards this 43.25 level. I've been speaking about it forever, but there's nothing overly concerning about the stock market. Now, you could say to me, well, guess what? I almost said my real name there. Guess what? Guess what, CBG? Anyway, losing my train of thought here. Guess what, CBG? I am still not bullish, and I don't know how you could be bullish because there's a lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. And I would say to that, you are absolutely correct. Absolutely. I can't speak to the contrary because that's factual information in the chart. We still have all these lower highs, right? But what I see also is this rise in price to this decrease in price, two higher lows. Now this increase in price, a higher high. And look, another higher low relative to these two lows, right? So I see structure, more recent price structure since around October of 22, that is suggesting to me that the stock market is, the way I would frame it to you is because of this price action, it hasn't led to any certainties, okay? What it has done is it's begun to slowly ramp up the likelihood, the probability that we are going to see a true trend reversal in the stock market. And then my mom said to me, well, I thought, why would we need a turnaround in the stock market? You know, I mean, you always tell me that, how did she say? You always tell me that crypto and Bitcoin aren't connected to one another or something like that. And I said, oh, mom, you have not been tuning into the channel lately, clearly, because I have said nothing but the contrary to that. I don't know where you got that from. I said the stock market performance is critical to crypto. And the reason for that is because cryptocurrencies show a positive correlation to the stock market. When the stock market is doing very well, risk on. We want to invest in things. Well, crypto's as risky as it gets, right? So a lot of money floods in because the stock market's doing well. Positively correlated. They're both moving up. Positively correlated. They're both moving down. The stock market is tanking and people are fearful of investing. Why the hell would they invest in risky assets, right? So positively correlated once again because they're both moving down. So we need the stock market to do well. It increases the likelihood that there'll be instilled confidence within the market. The other thing that'll be interesting, and again, this ties into my conversation with my mom, she said something about China. Oh, China is doing something to, I read a headline about they're welcoming crypto, and I laughed and I said, Mom, as much as I appreciate you taking an interest in the space, I know because I'm in it, and that's why you do it, and you know I appreciate you doing that. Here's the thing I want you to keep in mind. What you will find is, and especially with China is a great example. Same with India. I think India. When the price action on Bitcoin looks something like this, okay, you will see news headlines that China is banning Bitcoin. When the price is doing this, China makes it its new currency. Okay, not that bullish, but you get the point, right? You see positive headlines when there's a trend reversal to the upside. You see negative headlines when death of Bitcoin, you know? So I just said, I think some exuberance is coming into the market, you know, so China's all on board with the headlines. Just wait until we see a massive correction, and then China's going to ban it once again. So she said, oh, okay, that makes sense. I was like, yep. So what else do we have here? Let's check out the comments. Does anybody have any charts they want me to take a look at? Holly, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time. How are you doing? Good to see you in here. 2 years for you, still learning, no emotions, just busyness and... Oh, just business and fun. Just business and fun. I thought you said just busyness. Just business and fun. I got you 2 years. Okay, so you're newer. I wasn't aware. I wasn't sure how new you were. So, but I'll tell you what. You say no emotions. That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. To really stick to your guns and say, okay, this is my stance on risk, my risk investment philosophy. These are my risk tolerance levels. This is how I want to approach it. This is what I see in the chart, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, unless something changes, you always have a default option, but unless something changes in this chart, this is what I'm sticking to, right? And if I miss it, I miss it. If I get it, I get it, right? You guys know, if you've been paying close enough attention to my content, how many times have I had a missed call? I have missed calls all the time. I get something wrong. You know, I think something's going to happen. It takes a lot longer than I think, or it just doesn't pan out. But I have a lot of right calls too. It's not about getting 100% of your calls correctly, right? Ultimately, you know, from an investment perspective, the ultimate thing you have to ask yourself is what's your rate of return? How well are you doing? You know, not how many losses or winners you have, but really how does your investment portfolio look? And what's your investment thesis? Let's see. What questions? Am I retired yet? Great question, Brian. Great question. Okay, so short answer is no, all right? But I got two things to add to that. One, I'm surprised you asked me that question because I've commented that I'm an actuary and that's what I do. Like I still have a 9 to 5. That's why I'd be a lot more active on here doing a lot more stuff. I just don't have time for it. So I'm surprised you asked me that question. The second thing I would say is I don't know that I will ever refer to the term being retired. The more thought I've given that, I don't ever think I will ever call myself retired because I think in life, I'm a deep thinker. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to share my thoughts with you on this one. So I think in life, one of the most important things to do is to stay busy. I think you should have things to do. I think you should have a passion to pursue and spend your time on. As much as I might joke about it with a small few, or I've said something here, if I couldn't see myself retiring and just going out and playing golf every day, and no, I would want to have more purpose in life and feel fulfilled in terms of what I'm doing for my passions, right? So the terminology, I would say, and I know you're like, why am I getting this long-winded question? But I think there's something to be said for this. I don't think I'll ever say retired. I think what I'm striving for, a big goal of mine, personal goal of mine, is financial independence, to be truly financially independent. If you want to continue doing your career, you can continue doing your career. It doesn't mean you have to stop doing it. Full-time, part-time, contract time. But if you're financially independent, what does that actually mean? It's somewhat subjective, but there should be enough comprised within your answer to say you're not working for money. Okay, you're in a situation where you have enough pool of wealth that it'll be self-supporting for your life, such that now you're not contingent on that paycheck. Right? So now you can decide, do I want to do something different? Do I still have a passion for this and this is what I want to do, maybe in a different capacity? Or do I really want to redefine who I am as a person from a career perspective? I've thought about that quite often. So those are my thoughts there. Sorry, I'm an addict to pain. Nice. Oh, Brian, you were asking YC. Okay, Jesus Christ. The question wasn't even for me. I saw, are you retired yet? And then you said YC. So you were asking him. Yeah, I was asking YC because he said 9 years. I knew you still. Okay, sorry, you asked that in 2 comments. Well, you got my long-winded way of saying how I look at retirement and financial independence, right? Yeah, YC, if you've been in this 9 years, my friend, you should be off on an island playing golf. That's what you should be doing. Shit, if I had, it's funny. I don't know if I shared this story with you guys, and maybe some of you have similar thoughts, or you've thought about this. Like you. Anyway, let me get to what I'm saying. So I remember watching a documentary on Bitcoin. It was back in. I'm trying to think what year that was. If I was by myself or if I was with my ex. That's what I'm really trying to think about. Was I by myself? It was either 2015 or 2016. But I remember, maybe it was even 2013. I somewhere between 2013 and 16, but it might have been like 16. But point is like, I watched the documentary. It was interesting or whatever, but I just kind of like put it on the back shelf, right? And it must have not been one that was very fundamental in nature, because eventually when I did start to really take an interest in cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, like I just could not stop reading about it. I could not stop going down the rabbit hole. So it must have not been that informative of a documentary, but I at least knew about it and never pursued it. Probably some of that was also due to the fact, if it was around the time frame I'm thinking, I was still taking exams for my fellowship. So I was pretty busy, and taking the FSA exams as an actuary, that's like your life. Like, people don't understand. You don't have a Friday or Saturday. You have no life. Like, done with that stage of my life. You run 2 businesses. Awesome. I'd be curious I'd be curious what you do. You said, Holly, you said you have 2 businesses. Either if you can share in the comments, or if that you don't want to share in the comments, send me a DM. I'm curious on Twitter. I'm very bad with the DMs, by the way. Sorry if you've messaged me on Twitter and it takes me 6 weeks to get back to you. I get caught up doing too many other things, and I just never check I see the notification too. I'm like, oh, someone DM me. I'll get to that later. Let's see what else we got. One of my clients said he had some Bitcoin in a wallet from oh God. So then the question is, when you hear these stories, it's funny because I literally was just talking to someone yesterday, and she said that she has a Binance account, not a Binance US account, so it's international. But she doesn't know the password. She couldn't get in. She was trying to explain to me, and I was like, well, please let me know if I can try and help, or at least point you in the right direction, because but I was rambling all these cryptocurrency projects off to her. She's like, yeah, that. I was like, okay, well, you're familiar. She got really excited about XRP, so she probably had a lot of XRP. I don't know. Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Doge. She knew Doge. But, yeah, she lost her password, or I guess she can't recover it on Binance. I don't know what the issue is, but I offered to help her if she wants any help. So you said one of your clients. So the question I think of, Holly, when you comment that is, when you say some Bitcoin, like, what are we talking about? Because, if that person, yeah, it was a he. If that dude said, yeah, it was like 30 or 40 Bitcoin. Oh my God, 30 or 40 Bitcoin, like $1 million. I mean, not, quick math in my head. Wow, $1 million. Just had a few hundred Bitcoin in there, because I remember. It had to have been 15, 16, because I remember Bitcoin's price was like around $100 or something like that. It was like maybe it was a little over 100. It wasn't much over $100. That had to have been 15, 16. They were talking about the Mt. Gox fiasco back in 15. Let's see, right around this time frame. Yeah, it was up more towards like 200, even 300. Okay. Yeah, but still, imagine, and stay quiet if you're one of these individuals. You don't need to point. Anonymity is the best thing. It's honestly the reason I never wanted to go on video at the beginning of my channel. I just wanted the anonymity. I didn't really want to even show my face. But don't even reveal this. But if you bought Bitcoin back here, and you bought like I can just imagine like knowing where I was at financially at that point, and if I had understood it better, just even a little bit, to even put like, I don't know, $1,000, $2,000 in here. Ay, my grandfather would be saying, ay. Oh man, you have like, even if I bought like 10 Bitcoin, all right, we'll get off of that. Getting a little fixated. Any charts? Nobody has any charts for me. That's okay. We're already at time. We're over time actually. Let's see what Holly's got here. Real estate and vacation rental business. Nice. Say a friend mined it for a while. Said he and a friend mined it for a while. God damn. I think the friend was the main guy. This one didn't know as much, just knew he had some in a digital wallet. Yeah, well, I mean, it's a good question. How much BTC is really lost forever due to that type of situation? I just explained to you a situation. You have a situation there. There has to be a website. There has to be a website that somehow, again, just being analytically minded and coming up with assumptions for things. I would think there's someone that has attempted to put together a spreadsheet, something, documentation, outlining an estimation for how much Bitcoin has been lost forever to date. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. What I would be interested in knowing, again, being a numbers person, is not just what the assumption is, like what the value is, how many Bitcoin, but how did they come up with that value? What assumptions did they use? When you're coming up with something, I don't know how granular you could really get there. It would have to be some high level assumption, but hopefully there would be a few different assumptions baked into that estimate, but I don't know. It's very, very curious. Now that the numbers are starting to churn right now. See, once you get me going on calculations and things like that, numbers and working out, that defines my life. Working out and numbers. That's a good way to describe me. Working out in numbers. Working out in numbers. I like that. All right. All right. If there are no other questions, we will be back here tomorrow. Hopefully it'll be a green day. I would like to come on here for like a little bit of little energy, you know. Bitcoin's back above 31,000 or something like that. So, all right. If you appreciated the content, make sure to hit the thumbs up, drop me a comment, click the bell icon for notification. Take care, everybody. I will be back here tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Spread awareness and carry the education forward. Take care, guys.